welcome back. I'm George, and this are 50 camera features for your new Samsung Galaxy A16. Things like taking a picture without touching the phone by showing your hand, things like a new AI editor on the gallery, and even better, a new mode that lets you turn normal photos into portraits in about 5 seconds. But anyways, that being said, let's begin by talking about some of the features we can find on the camera app. So let's tap here and begin with what's probably one of my favorite features on this phone. You know, the way cameras usually work is when you get your subject really close to the camera, photos tend to look blurry because, cameras are not usually meant to take pictures of things that are super up close. But luckily on the Galaxy A16, there is a solution. If we swipe all the way to the right to the More tab, and we tap here on Macro, we will access, like the name suggests, a new macro mode that actually takes use of this third camera on the back of the phone. And as you can see, that lets you get very, very close to objects for very good looking pictures. As you can see, the cool thing about this mode is that since you get so close to the subject, you can see very, very small details on the texture and on the shapes of things, and it also makes for very attractive looking pictures, at least in my opinion. Now that said, something a lot of people don't know is that you can actually take pictures by tapping on the volume controls of the phone. So whether it is the volume down or volume up, if you press, as you can see, you will snap a picture like you would with the traditional display shutter. Now, the cool thing about this is that it works both for photos and for video. So if you tap here on video mode and you tap on volume down, you will start recording a video. And then if you press again, the video will end. So this is a nice way to activate the camera without touching the display, which, as many of you know, especially with big phones, sometimes is a little inconvenient. Now, in the same vein, there is actually a third way we can take pictures with the phone. So if we tap the shutter, the display shutter, and then drag it down, as you can see, we will take a burst of photos, up to 100 to be specific. Now, the cool thing about this feature is that it is not going to take a bunch of pictures and fill up your gallery, but it's actually going to take one picture and then give you a bunch of versions of that picture. So as you can see, there is a button right here at the bottom left. In this case, it says 17 because I took 17 pictures. So instead of getting, as I said, a bunch of pictures on your gallery, you get them in the same place. And then you can even select the one you want to be the thumbnail, and that will be the one that shows on the gallery. Now, I wanted to get this feature out of the way because a lot of people mistake tapping and dragging down with tapping and holding, which, as you can see, is actually going to create a weird video because it has the photo aspect ratio that, again, is going to save in your gallery. This is very convenient when you really need to be fast and take a quick video and you don't have time to swipe and then, start recording. So you just tap on photo mode and it starts recording a video right away. Now, there is no tapping and dragging or tapping and holding on video mode, but if you start recording a video and then you tap on this little button on the bottom left, you will snap a little picture within the video that is then going to display, as you can see here in the gallery, as a separate image as opposed to the video. So if you're taking a video and you want to take sort of like a screen capture, then you can tap that button, and this would be a very easy way to do it. Now, that said, before we move on, I want to give you a little piece of advice, and it's that when you're taking pictures, you actually tap on the display and swipe this sort of sun icon, which is going to control the exposure, down for about like 1 millimeter, a little bit, just a little bit. And that's because, as you can see, phones tend to overexpose the images they take, so there's more detail in the shadows, but also at the expense of making the image look flatter, less detailed, and less professional. So if you underexpose the image by like 1 or 2 stops, as you can see, it is going to look a little bit darker, but textures and sharpness and the professional look, so to say, is going to be a lot better, at least in my opinion. But anyways, let's move on to the fun mode. So if you swipe all the way to the left, you will find a new selfie mode or selfie fun mode, with which, as you can see, you can access a library of different, let's call them filters or Snapchat add-ons to the video or image that you can use to have some fun with your friends or to upload fun videos to social media. So yeah, if you like these kinds of things and you want to have some fun, the Fun tab is for you. Now that said, maybe you don't find the fun mode here all the way to the left, and that's because the array of photo and video modes you get right here is going to depend on the phone you have. So there's actually a way you can tweak it to be exactly how you want. So if you come all the way to the right to the More tab and then tap on the plus icon right here, you can actually select which modes are on the Quick Access tab. As you can see, we have photo, video, portrait, and fun. But we can select fun, place it here because we don't really use it, and then change it for slow motion, which is a mode that I'm pretty sure I would be using a lot more. Then you can even rearrange the position of these modes in the Quick Mode tab, so you can end up with a customized array to maximize speed in the camera app and functionality. But anyways, let's come back here to the More tab because there is a very interesting feature on the phone called AR Zone. So what this is going to do is it's basically going to help you create a custom emoji based on your face so you can use it on your messaging apps. So in this case, let's tap on AR Emoji Studio and then tap here on Create Emoji with Camera. So as you can see, if we snap a picture of our face, there it is. And I think this is for gender, so female, male, and other. Let's tap on male. We can actually, just like that, in a couple seconds, there it is, create a, well, that doesn't look like me. Come on, Samsung. Well, it got the goggles, it got the glasses, right? But the face is a little off. Anyways, you can actually get a really good baseline for an emoji that then you can tweak. As you can see, you have a lot of controls for your face, your hair, your eyes, your nose, everything. Even your clothes, you can choose clothing and then tap here on save. And then this will be your default emoji for all of your apps. So instead of using the basic ones, you can use your custom one. But anyways, that said, let's get out of the camera app for a second because I want to show you how you can enter the camera app. So as you can see, by default, you'll get a camera icon, like with pretty much every other phone, that you can then tap and hold, as you can see, to access individual parts of the camera, like the selfie mode, video mode, or portrait. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that you can actually tap and drag this modes out to create secondary camera modes that let you more easily enter those parts of the camera. So we can actually do this with every single mode. So we can have an icon for every part of the camera to quickly open it in any place of the or part of the app you want in the fastest way possible. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you're really into customization, there's actually a better way to do this. So if you tap and hold on camera and then tap here on widgets, you can actually create a very customizable camera widget to enter the app exactly where you want. So let's tap here on add. And as you can see, it gives me the option to change the name. So we can call the widget anything we want. Let's call it George. There it is. As you can see, we can also change exactly the part of the camera we want to open. So we can choose between rear camera and front camera, and then every single camera mode available on the phone. So it's very, very complete. Let's open by default the fun mode with the front-facing camera. And then we can even choose the widget background. So as you can see, by default, it's using the most recent image, but we can select a custom image like this one of Brad Pitt. So for whatever reason, if you want this to be your camera app, it can be your camera app, Brad Pitt, that we can tap. And as you can see, it's going to take me to the fun mode using the front-facing camera. Very, very, very good level of customization here on the A16. Now that said, and I'm pretty sure some of you already know this, you can actually change the aspect ratio of your photos and your videos. So in this case, we are in photo mode. If you tap here at the top where it says 3:4, you can actually change it to 9:16, which would be your usual video aspect ratio. You can change it to 1:1, which is the traditional Instagram photo format. And then you can change it to full, which is going to give you, so to say, an ultra wide photo. Although this is weird, I've never seen an ultra wide photo, but you have the option. Now here in video, we also have some options. As you can see, by default, it says 9:16, but we can change it to 1:1, which is going to give us a squared video, and we can change it to full, which is going to give us an ultra-wide video. Now this combines very well with the tip that I gave you earlier on tapping and holding the shutter on photo mode. So as you can see, we don't have the 3:4 aspect ratio for video that we have on photos, but if we tap and hold and take a quick video, we are technically taking a video with a 3:4 aspect ratio. Now that said, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are probably wondering, where's all the controls for the camera? Like the ISO, the shutter speed, the white balance. There's no controls here on the normal camera app. And that's normal because most people don't really want manual controls for their camera. But if you're one of those people who want a little bit more control, you can tap here on the More tab all the way to the right, and then tap here on Pro. As you can see, you will access a manual control for the camera where you can control the ISO, the shutter speed, the exposure, the focus, and the white balance. So pretty much every control you have on a normal DSLR. Now that said, let's move on to the second portion of this video. Let's tap here on the wheel at the top left to access the camera settings. And there's actually a bunch of controls here that are going to get you better photos and more interesting photos. So the first option you'll see is this one, Scene Optimizer, and I would actually recommend you turn this feature on because it is going to let the phone, using its AI capabilities, determine the right colors and contrast and overall look depending on where you are taking the picture. So this is basically more control to the phone, but considering that phones are very advanced and they really know what they're doing, yes, it is going to overall help you take better looking pictures. Now down here on pictures, there is a very interesting option. So if you tap on Swipe Shutter button 2, you'll have the option to choose between taking a burst shot with that tap and drag down mode that I showed you earlier to creating a GIF. So as you can see, if I tap and drag down now, it is going to look like it's taking a burst of photos like we did before. But when we go to the gallery, as you can see, it doesn't give me the option to select between the pictures. It actually says, as you can, well, I think it's here on the information. There it is, .gif. It is a .gif. We have created a GIF that we can export and use as a GIF. Now down here on pictures, we have the option for high efficiency pictures that is basically going to create smaller files for your images that take up less space, but at the expense of a little bit less visual quality. So if you are very tight when it comes to storage, then yes, turn it on. But otherwise, I recommend you leave it off because your pictures are going to look better this way. Now down here on selfies, you have the option to swipe up or down to switch the cameras. So if you leave this option on, you can actually swipe up to go from the rear camera to the front camera and vice versa. Like this, very easy. I actually always leave it on my Samsung phones. Down here on video, you have the option for high efficiency video, which much like with photos is going to give you smaller files at the expense of some camera quality or visual quality because the files are more compressed. Then here on general, you have the option for auto HDR, which I always recommend you turn on because it is going to make pictures look better, and especially on phones like this that don't have a lot of dynamic range or big sensors. This feature is going to give you much better pictures. Down here, you have the option for grid lines, which I always turn on. As you can see, it is going to give you, I'm not sure you can see it, it is going to give you like 2 lines horizontally, 2 lines vertically that divide the display in 9 squares or rectangles, so to say. And that generally speaking is going to help you compose your shots a lot better. So usually the rules for photography are that if you're taking a picture of a main subject, you want to frame it in the middle square or rectangle. And if you're taking a picture of something in context to something else, you want to place that subject between two squares, ideally in the middle. So the subject is reacting to or in context to something else. Summarizing, I'm sorry for the photographer tutorial, this is going to help you compose your shots a lot better, which ultimately is going to make you take better pictures. Now down here below grid lines, we have location tags, which once again, I recommend you turn on because it's going to capture the location information of where you took the photo, so that here on your gallery, you can tap on the three bars at the bottom right, then tap on locations and select the place or places where you've taken photos and see what photos you took in those places. Now, if you took the picture before enabling the location tags, there's actually a little trick we can use to attach that information to the photo. So as you can see, if we tap on the image and swipe up, there is actually the option to edit the information about that picture. So tap here, and then on no location information, you want to tap on the plus icon and select the location where you took the picture. Now, as you can see below location tags, we have shooting methods, which has three submenus, so to say. The first one gives you the option to switch the volume controls to either taking pictures or videos, zooming in or out, or controlling the sound and volume. So as you saw earlier, this is the option we have by default, taking pictures and videos. But if we switch it to zooming in or out, we can, just by tapping on the volume controls, zoom in or out of the image or video in a very smooth and seamless way, much like with a traditional camcorder. Now, also here on shooting methods, we have the option for a floating shutter button. So if we enable this feature, as you can see on photo mode, we have a floating shutter button. So when you're holding the phone in an uncomfortable position, you have an easier time pressing on it and taking your pictures. And well, of course, like you saw at the beginning of the video, we have the option to take a picture by showing our palm. So, of course, I have the option already enabled. I don't think it's enabled by default, but I quickly enabled it the same day that I got the phone. So I can do things like this. Wow, it's very fast. I'm not sure if you are heavy selfie takers. I'm not a heavy selfie taker, but sometimes I'm trying to, capture the most amount of information. I'm far from my body, and it's very hard for me to control the phone with one hand, so I can just, boom, do that, and like that, I can just take a picture. It's so much more convenient. Now, that said, I'm pretty sure that the biggest issue you have, or most people have, with the camera app on their phone is that it doesn't save the photo or video mode you had when you used it for the last time. So if you tap on video mode, for example, and tap on 1 by 1, it is actually not going to save that mode for when you open the app again. It's going to default to the photo mode with the standard aspect ratio. But what a lot of people don't know is that there's actually a way to fix this. So on the camera settings, if we swipe all the way down to settings to keep, we can actually enable every setting to be maintained when we close the camera app. So we can select the mode we use often with our phone, like in this case video with 1 by 1, we can then leave the camera app, and when we open it up again, there it is. It still has the same mode with the same camera and the same aspect ratio, so we can get back to work, so to say, or back to taking videos as soon as possible. But anyways, we have covered the camera app, we have covered the main modes, we have covered the settings. It is time to talk about the gallery. There is actually some very interesting tips, tricks, and features we can use here on the gallery app. So first of all, something that I'm pretty sure most of you are going to find very convenient, if we come to the main pictures mode on the gallery and then tap on the three buttons at the top right, there it is, we can actually group similar images together. So as you can see, I have a bunch of images that look exactly the same. When I tap on group similar images, there it is. It is going to group all of them together so they take up way less space on the gallery. So as you can see, we have 15 images that look exactly the same. And much like with burst photos, we can select the one we like, tap on the crown right here, and making it the thumbnail for the rest of the images. Now, if you want to undo the process because you want to see all of your pictures, you can tap again on the three buttons at the top right and tap on Ungroup Similar Images, and you'll be back to normal. Now, the most common way to share an image you have on your gallery is to tap on that image and then tap right here on the share icon, and then, wait for the thing to load up and dig through the apps and then tap on your app. It is very slow, at least in my opinion. So there's actually a much faster way to share an image. Tap here on the three dots at the top right, then tap on Copy to Clipboard, and then you can go directly to the app you want to share the image in, like your messages. And when you tap here to write the message, you'll find that on the keyboard, you have the option to paste the image you have on your clipboard. So this is a much easier way to share the image. Now, if you tap right here in the bottom where it says Albums, and then tap on the plus icon to create a new album, you can actually create an auto-updating album for a specific person. So let's call this one George. There it is, George, create. Oh, I'm not really sure why it didn't work, so I'm going to show you on my other Samsung phone. Let's tap here on plus. Let's tap on auto-updating album. Let's call it George. There it is, create. And as you can see, it lets me choose my face. So automatically it creates an album with all of the pictures that feature my face. And as I said, it is an auto-updating album. So if I take a new selfie, it is going to put that selfie here on the George album. Now, in the same vein, something that I didn't know until about 2 days ago is that you can actually create a group of albums by just tapping on an album and then placing it on top. Come on, it's a little finicky. Placing it on top of another album. There it is. You can name it anything you want. Let's call it George once again. I'm going to call everything George. So as you can see, if we tap on the new album, we will find the two albums that I grouped together. Now, if you didn't like this change and you want to go back to normal, you can just tap and hold. There it is. And then tap here at the bottom left where it says Ungroup. And just like that, you'll be back to normal. Now, that said, on to some very interesting AI features. So if you tap on a normal photo like this selfie that I took last night, you can actually turn this normal photo into a portrait photo by tapping right here where it says background blur. So let's tap on that button. It is going to do some AI magic in like 4 to 5 seconds. And there it is. Now it is a selfie portrait that we can actually edit to tweak the amount of blur we have on the background so it looks a little bit more realistic. I usually like to leave it between 1 and 2 so it's not too obvious. Now, another very interesting AI feature, if you tap on a portrait selfie like this one, you can actually swipe up and create a background effect using AI that we can use to apply some very interesting effects. As you can see, we can apply like a spin effect to the background. We can apply like a zoom effect, as you can see, to the background. Come on, I think it's processing. Zoom effect to the background. So if we use 0, it is going to look normal. But look at how the background sort of zooms in as I apply the effect. It is very interesting, and this, of course, would not be possible if we didn't have that depth information. And well, last but not least, we have color point, which is just a very weird selfie that combines black and white with color for the foreground. That, again, would not be possible if we didn't have that depth information on this photo. Now, that said, one of the most common use cases for the Gallery app is actually to edit your photos. So if you tap on an image and then tap on this little button right here, you can actually apply some color changes or even some framing changes. So as you can see, we can zoom in on the image, we can change the framing, and then we can tap here on the 3 dots and save it as a copy so we can get a new version of that image. But what if I told you there's a much faster way to do this without having to enter the editing mode? The only thing you have to do is to tap on the image, then zoom in on the image, and then tap this little button right here at the bottom left, to automatically, just like that, as you can see, create a new copy of that image with a crop. And the cool thing about this is that you can do it both in photos and in videos. As you can see, we can zoom in on the video as much as we want and then tap right here to take a screen capture of that video, which, by the way, will always be saved as a copy. So you will get to keep the original. As you can see, we also have the original Brad Pitt photo, there it is, without having to enter the editing mode in a much faster way. Now, that said, at least in my opinion, the king of all features on the Gallery app is the copy edit feature for your photo edits. So imagine you want to apply some visual changes to a couple images, not just the Brad Pitt one, but let's say the previous 10 pictures. You want to apply the same LUT or color correction to those images. What most people would normally do would be to tap here on the edit button, then apply set changes like the brightness, the exposure, the contrast, and all those things, and then keep doing the same thing over and over with all of the pictures they want to edit. Now, what if I tell you there is a way to apply all of these changes at the same time to all of those images? The only thing you have to do is to tap on the three buttons at the top right, then tap Copy Edits. There it is. Then select all of the images you want to apply the edit to. There it is. And then tap right here on the three dots and hit on this new option called Paste Edits. That's it. You've now applied the same edit to 10 pictures at the same time without losing any more of your time. This has saved me so much time when editing and tweaking pictures that I just cannot believe this was not available like 2-3 years ago on Samsung phones. But anyways, I believe this is as complete of a camera features guide you can do for the Galaxy A16. So if you liked it, if you enjoyed it, please hit a like button down below. And if you have any comment or any remark to say about my video or about a specific feature, please tell me in the comments. That said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.